Every now and then, when I meet parents, students, alumni, professors, friends, colleagues, they all ask me, tell us the story of Vishwakarma. Tell the story of VIT. Your organization is now 35 plus years old. What were the first 10 years like? What were the next 10 years like? And so on. I reflect upon this question. And now I think that the real story of Vishwakarma is not what has happened at Vishwakarma, but what has happened through Vishwakarma. The real stories are stories of our students, of our alumni, and our associates. Come, let's hear these stories on the learning curve with me, Bharat Agarwal. Today on the learning curve, we have Mr. Indraneel Chitley, my dear friend, a businessman who leads the famous Chitley Bandhu, the business group that requires no introduction. Welcome to the learning curve, Indraneel.
Thanks, Bharat. Thanks for having me here.
Indraneel, काय चालू आहे आजकाल?
बरंच काय. I think we've never seen times like this. There is a war happening, very bipolar world that we are living in now, and also inflation that's skyrocketing and levels we've never seen. And just today we've seen that now the dollar and euro ratio is also never been this equivalently matched.
Almost same now.
So, being in a consumer business, this is a very challenging time to be because the consumers' buying patterns depend on all of these factors. Just धंदा चालू है जोरात.
No, you say that the consumer preference depends on all these things. At my place, at least, the consumer preference is only on your taste. And that is so far superior that I'm sure inflation doesn't affect that at my place at least.
No, but I'll tell you a funny story that what last 15-20 days we have been seeing that the volume of cow milk being sold by us is actually more than the volume of buffalo milk being sold. And that primarily we can reflect is because of the difference in the pricing.
Oh.
So this is a small change in consumer behavior, but if a 10 rupee per liter cost is being saved, people are going to save that. So whether that sustains, we need to see, but we can see certain trends coming up like that.
So it is a price sensitive market. Coming to Chitley Bandhu, I know we have all been a Chitley fan. We have been using Chitley products. We have been gifting Chitley products. You live with that brand. You live with that name. How does it feel to be a Chitley? What are the pros and cons?
Well, it feels amazing to be born into this legacy. If 3 generations have worked really hard for us to be up this mantle to enjoy this legacy and the perks of it. So, of course, growing up, it was a different story. And there were times when probably I was not happy with the baggage that comes along with the Chitale name. But I think that's the grooming process of carrying forward the legacy. And that's groomed us to actually appreciate what we have. So if you ask me today, I am totally enjoying
I'm sure
the perks of it.
But going back immediately after engineering, what is your memory of your first job, your first salary?
So I'll tell you first about the job. So after finishing my engineering, my father was of the opinion that I should get a formal MBA degree, which I didn't want to. So I said that, can you hook me up somewhere where I can spend some time and work rather than getting MBA, because otherwise I was not getting into a good school. So with one of our suppliers in Germany, he was able to connect and offer me an apprenticeship there. So that eventually became my first job, where I spent a good time just after engineering. And technically, since it was an apprenticeship, I never got a salary for it. But I did get some spending money. With the deputation was in Netherlands, so obviously the fun part was to go to Amsterdam, and that's what we did.
So that was the purpose.
Yeah. But being a partnership firm as a holding company that we still have, and me being a partner, I still haven't got a salary yet in my life. So we do get the dividends and we do get the share of the profits. That's an annual credit. But I have not drawn a salary yet. And that way, whatever I have been paid are probably stipends, but nothing more than that.
Going back, how was it working for someone else?
It was excellent. And what I got to know was that being into a very hardcore German system of work where people are supremely efficient and excellent at understanding job responsibility and delegation.
Right.
There was a lot of clarity that I was exposed to at a very young age. And that helped me start running the business after coming back in a much different manner than what the generation before me was trying to do. And that is where we could start accommodating professionals into our business. Because till then it was a family owned and family managed business. Now we are a professionally run business where family members also take professionals roles.
Going further back, I have a lot of pride in saying that Indranil is from VIT.
Correct.
What are your memories of VIT?
Very fond memories. VIT has given me a lot, including my wife, who I met in VIT. But beyond the romance and the love life, I enrolled into VIT just a year before it became autonomous. From my second year, I was exposed to a lot of autonomy, and that also meant a lot of freedom to the students. So while we exploited that to a great extent, what it also exposed me to was towards a lot of organizational skills and ability to work in areas which were beyond academics. So I was highly active in the Students' Council. I was very much active in the Epiphany and the Melange teams. And that helped form a very early exposure towards managing people, managing people's aspirations, ensuring that everybody remains happy. And what today we call shareholder management, that was what we did in a very basic form in college, where that genuinely helped me create good bonds with people. And that is what has helped me get into the business very well, because I entered a business which was running very well for 3 generations and I had to make my space in that. And that is where this exposure in college times definitely helped me.
So one of the value benefits that VIT gave you was knowledge, skills, training, education, and love life.
And love life, yes. That probably made my parents' life easier. कि VIT से है लड़की तो अच्छी होगी.
You have been in an engineering college in Pune, VIT. I know you have also done executive education course with the Harvard Business School. You have been running your family-owned business professionally for the last 15 years now. Describe your learning curve. How has been this journey for you as a learner?
Well, it's been phenomenal, and I don't think so. I have finished the curve yet. It's learning every day. But what I would say is that I was lucky because of my technical education and exposure in a technical field in Germany, that when I joined the family business, what I was supposed to do was pretty clear. Due credit to my father and my uncles that they put me in roles where that challenged my technical skill set. And that way, when I joined the business, everything was running fine. So how was I supposed to create value is where they gave me a mandate to create value. And eventually moved on from small engineering projects to large projects, to creating infrastructure, to managing a division, to overall managing a group level strategy. It's been a gradual process of learning, and it's all on the job. And I would say where that Harvard has helped has been on understanding that it is genuinely possible to do this, and there are tools to do this rather than trusting your gut instinct only.
You mentioned, and I'm wanting you to speak more about this to maybe the younger students of today's generation. You mentioned technical expertise has helped you in business.
Yeah.
For our understanding, and I am sure the understanding of generally everyone in a society, FMCG is a sales and distribution business. It's a trade business. You say technical expertise of engineering assisted you. Can you elaborate this a bit?
In FMCG, it's a value conscious market. And it's a price conscious market. So consumer has a fixed price point that they are going to pay for that product. Now it is up to me how I can optimize that cost and ensure I get better margins while making that product and ensuring the consumer gets the best product. So that is where can we use better quality boilers to make better heat efficiency or heat transfer and ensure a shave is fried at far better thermal efficiency than what somebody else would be doing. Or can we package it at far more efficiency than what somebody else is doing? Or can we optimize the people who are being used to do that? Where now robots are filling our Kaju Katli, which is being made on automated lines. So all of this is possible because we had an inclination to be technically sound and technically adaptive of what's happening new. And that helps us ensure that we can scale up much faster, because otherwise very traditional Indian businesses have been very localized. And that transition is very difficult to make without this.
Indranil, I remember my college days, my engineering days while doing mechanical. Automation was new and we were taught automation was only existing in 2 places in Pune. One was to make the Indita Tar plant in Tata Motors, and second was to make Bhatrabadi at Chitle Bandhu. There was some more ideas about what all do you do through automation.
So I'll tell you first why automation came. So Indian sweets and snacks have traditionally always been retailed fresh across the counter. But when the need arises to package it and sell it at different locations, where in today's world your customer is basically anybody with a phone, they need to get the same experience each and every time they consume anywhere in the world. So when that repetitive quality assurance is to be built into the system, human elements fall short because there is a human error that comes. And secondly, with food, because of human touch, the microbial activity contaminates the product faster. So that's why automation was necessary for us to scale. And when we decided that we want to start packaging mithai, which nobody was doing in the country at that time, it was mandatory that we went into completely automated systems because otherwise it was impossible to preserve the product. The only alternative was to use preservatives, which we didn't want to do because they have chemicals and we don't know the side effects of it. We first started with automating modaks. Then we went into automating the laddus. We already had pedhas which had been automated before. Then we went into automating all the burfis and eventually into the katlis. That way now if you see 80% of the products that we do and which actually build our largest scale of business, they are all automated.
Wow. You mentioned that hygiene is something that is well controlled through automation. Is it useful for selling or does it make impact in consumers? ये hygienic है या taste is still prevalent?
So
or
post-COVID, this priority has changed in India. But since we are also a business that exports, we are also audited by multiple other nations and their FDAs. And when they do that, they do not want to differentiate whether we are an Indian product manufacturer or we are a dairy manufacturer or we are a beverage manufacturer or somebody else. They want a certain level of consumer safety which is beyond the legality compliance. And that is where these systems and automation and the process controls actually help us ensure we clear those audits and we can keep doing business. And that just opens up bigger boundaries for us.
Yes, that is so important. I am sure because you have automation and the legal compliance because of which in place, you are also at peace of mind with consumers in India.
Correct. Because whatever we make is consumed and has a direct effect on the body. If it is not good, that can affect the health of the consumer.
Wow.
And we lose the repeat customer.
I love to let our engineering students to visit the plants of yours to see automation. Otherwise, still our mindset is if you want to see automation, go and see auto manufacturing. On the personal side, Indraneel, tell us about some good advice that you have received, how it has been useful, from whom it has come.
So I've been lucky. I have had a fairly large family who's been in the business for a long time, who have been excellent advisors and sounding boards for me, but also external mentors who have given me advice time and again whenever I've seeked. But if I was to summarize some things, probably there are three valuable advices that I see. One is that keep creating value and ensure that transparency is seen by your customer. Relevance of it is that our consumer demands will keep evolving as time changes, but they will keep coming to the brand because the brand stands for a certain value. And how do we communicate that value is where the transparency is essential. The second part that is purely related to finance and something I understood much later when I started realizing balance sheets. The turnover is vanity. Profit is sanity, and cash flow is reality. So how do we build great cash flows is something that we need to learn. And I think with engineering students need to be taught this because now they are doing startups in college days.
Yes.
And the finance is where I think as engineers we are not taught about it very early. And the third part is that patience is a virtue that every entrepreneur should have because nothing ever worthwhile was achieved overnight.
Indraneel, the food industry and especially the mithai industry. See, we as outsiders observe a lot of attraction towards mithai, a lot of resistance towards mithai. Chocolates being replaced in mithai is something that we had heard of some time back. Mithai back into action is what we heard sometime recently. Give us the future of your industry. How is the food industry shaping up?
Well, it's never been a better time to be in it. And just when I said that we are in a very bipolar world, that way the mithai industry is doing no different. That because our competition is no more the other neighborhood mithai store. but it is also a donut store, it is also a bakery store, it is also a chocolate store. As a society, we are very much attracted to the Western culture of gifting, where chocolates are taking a lot of prevalence. And that's where I think the mithai industry was caught unaware about a decade ago. And fortunately, I must say that there are very concrete steps being taken by the center in terms of ensuring that the industry is protected. So, which also means that for the first time since independence, mithai and namkeen is a separate category in our food safety standards, which did not exist till 2019. So we were always adopting other nationalities' law and implying them to mithai industry, which had its own set of challenges and differences. So now with this regulation, more manufacturers will become standardized. Yet there will be protection, and the consumer will always get the best because the auditing process and the compliance process will be far better.
My family, my friends tell me, and especially my doctors tell me, if you want to maintain good health, don't be friends with mithai. That might just fail up. This thought might just fail up. So, what is Chitle Bandhu thinking about it?
No, it's a very valid thought. While the science behind nutrition has never been explained to us, there is merit to the idea that sugar can have its own limitations. And which is where we as a nation face a challenge that by the end of this decade, we will be having approximately 50% of our population to be diabetes. So with that in mind, we have also taken conscious measures in ensuring that inside the Chitale umbrella, there is a sub-brand called M Square, which stands for Mindful and Mouthful, where the idea is about nutrition and not simply about sweet. And sweet can also be healthy, is something that we are trying to do. So these are no added sugar products that we are making. Along with that, we are also focusing on allergens and how they affect the body, where something like lactose intolerance could be a problem. Something like gluten allergy is a problem. Peanuts can be a problem. So all of these issues are coming up and cropping up much more informally in our market now. And that way, it is our job as a food manufacturer to be able to cater to these issues in a more justified and scientific manner. And that is where the R&D is being focused on.
So, Indranil, you also have larger interest in this health products which you mentioned, and you have a startup by the name Hobby. Yeah. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, so first thing I would say is that we recently got funded. We raised a round, and that's the good thing that there is some promise to what we are trying to do. So the Herbal started with the idea that how India has a rich history of Ayurveda.
Yes.
And this history has never been communicated to the world in a manner which is consumer friendly. Because we have always looked at Ayurveda to be medicinal, not a lifestyle product. So how do we make Ayurveda more accessible is the aim with which we started Herbal. And what we are selling now is a range of herbal infusions, which will soon enter into chocolates and into cold beverages as well, where we want Ayurveda to be part of your daily lifestyle, where small sips of it can impact your health positively.
On the personal side, well, we all love what Chitle Bandhu makes. What do you make?
Most easiest answer would be I make a lot of trouble, but I also find a way to get out of trouble, and that pushes the envelope. But to be very honest, I am not very fond of cooking. But if I ever do, it's mostly barbecues, and that's very different to what Chitale does.
How are your Sundays? Or do you have a Sunday?
Well, it depends. It's up to me. So that way, because of professional management, I have the liberty of taking off when I want to. But beyond that, there are times when your presence is necessary for moral boost for our business. Because we run a business that is 365 days. So there are technically no holidays to our business. But of course, family time is equally important. And with kids growing up, they grow up so fast that you want to spend more time with them.
So you have one child?
I have two kids.
Children. And how old are they now?
So the elder one is 3.5. The younger one is 1.5.
That's a busy time for a father.
That way, either it's where I would spend time enjoying my motorcycling, which I genuinely like to do, or spend time with the family where it's just bonding. So,
we also know you love pets.
I have a pair of Cane Corsos right now. So these are Italian Mastiffs, and they're working dogs. So they need a lot of exercise as well as attention. And the girl is named Nala. Which goes after from Lion King, which my kids have been very fond of. And the guy is named Khal, who's from Game of Thrones.
I'm sure Sundays with kids, with the dogs would be fun.
It's totally fun.
The last thing, Indranil, how can we have Chitle Bandhu without talking about 1 to 4.
Correct.
So I was part of a social group. Indranil joined it after me. People started creating memes that from 1 to 4, the WhatsApp group would be shut now. How do you respond? What is this 1 to 4 story now? And what do you have to say about it?
So the origination happened because that time the business was run by the family, and because of our milk business, everybody used to be up by 4, and that way there was a lunch break or a siesta that we would be using. And that's how it continued for a long time. We realized that's not relevant, and also the consumer taste and preferences had changed. So if we were not doing business in those 2 hours, we were losing business. Customer was going somewhere else. So it was just wise that we stopped doing that, and that is where in 2017 we got over this 55-year-old hurdle.
Well, thank you, Indranil. Thank you for being here. I'm sure listening to you would be a lot of learning, a lot of inspiration for all the students, faculty of Vishwakarma Group, of all the audience that will listen to this and see this show, The Learning Curve. And they would want to listen and meet you even more in future. Thank you so much for being here.
I look forward to doing that, and I am glad to be here. So thank you for having me, Bharat.